Future's looking bright. Not that the experts predicted it.
Heading into that historic government shutdown, the job market was healthier than we thought.
The September jobs report's finally here, more than 50,000 more than anticipated.
So it turns out to be a pretty good number for the month.
More than we anticipated. Wasn't expected.
Trump's team is scrambling tonight because even Fox News accidentally exposed the truth. While the White House insists prices are down, the network's own live segment showed Americans getting crushed by real-world costs, and Republicans absolutely panicked on air.
And we begin this Sunday morning with President Trump's economic agenda as we get new clarity on the year ahead, and affordability takes center stage for the upcoming election year. New data from the Labor Department shows the U.S. economy added 119,000 jobs in the month of September, more than doubling expectations, ahead of more inflation data coming up this upcoming week. With the president telling me exclusively last month, investment into America could total $20 trillion by the end of this year on his watch. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, met with the president in the Oval Office last week, and he increased his investment into the U.S. to some $1 trillion next year, up from the initial $600 billion promised earlier by the de facto leader of the Saudi kingdom. All of this as the White House awaits the Supreme Court decision on President Trump's use of tariffs, expected soon. Now, if the Supreme Court rules against the Trump administration, the U.S. may have to pay back approximately $200 billion in tariff revenue, which has already been collected from importers. But Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, with me here last weekend, said he's not expecting a negative ruling, and he looks for a strong economy next year as the impact of the big, beautiful bill takes effect.
I think we are going to see a substantial acceleration in the economy in the second quarter. And I think we are also, we're already seeing on many prices, as I said, we're bending that curve down, and the increase in real incomes, I think Americans are going to feel it in the first quarter, second quarter. I think 2026, thanks to President Trump's signature plans, is going to be a great year for working Americans, for the markets.
Trump's team is bragging again, 119,000 jobs in September, $20 trillion in investment, $1 trillion from Saudi Arabia, and a so-called blockbuster year ahead. They're promising 2% interest rates, massive refunds, and even $2,000 tariff checks. It all sounds impressive until you compare it to reality. Because while they celebrate these made-for-TV numbers, Americans are dealing with higher mortgages, higher rents, rising beef prices, collapsing savings, and a job market where layoffs keep climbing. Families aren't quoting White House talking points. They're checking receipts, bank balances, and overdue bills. And none of Trump's hype fixes that.
As the Trump administration works to cut costs, Vice President J.D. Vance is reassuring Americans that changes are coming soon. Listen.
My message to the American people who are still feeling like things are unaffordable, who are still feeling like things are rough out there is look, we get it, and we hear you, and we know that there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of wood to chop because the Biden administration put us in such a very, very tough spot. The thing that I'd ask for the American people is a little bit of patience. This economy was not harmed in 10 months.
J.D. Vance's clip actually exposes the whole game. Even Fox News couldn't hide it. He practically admitted Americans are miserable. Everything is unaffordable and the economy feels brutal. And yet, he still blamed Biden for all of it, because why not? Even though Trump's been in office for nearly a year, the excuses are running out.
So we've had economic growth now for a number of years, and it is continuing. But there are two things happening with economic growth that people should be aware of. The first is it's generally slowing. It's going from here to here down to just about under 2% in total, from 2.5% in 2024. But what's really interesting is we all talk about AI, and AI is now becoming a significant part of economic growth. AI, back in this whole period here, was only about 10% of economic growth. Now it's 31% of economic growth. And so the actual growth that's filtering down to ordinary Americans is dropping even by more, and it would be 1.1% in the first half of 2025. So that's happening on that side. And then what's happening in terms of wages for people, which partially reflects, obviously, that slowdown in economic growth, is that For the first time in a number of years, people toward the bottom are doing worse than people toward the top. You had a whole period going back to 2016 here where wages for people at the bottom quartile were rising faster than for the rest of the other quartiles further up.
We do have the data, and it is not good. 22,000 jobs created during the month of August. That is significantly lower than the 75,000 anticipated. Last month, 73,000 revised up to 79,000. Change in private payrolls, 38,000. Last month, it was 83,000. The 2-month net payroll revision is another negative 21,000. We'll have to look and see what the breakdown on that is. But the unemployment rate, which is the thing the Fed is watching, moves to 4.3% from 4.2%. Labor force participation rate ticks up to 62.3%. Manufacturing payrolls down 12,000. We did expect that given what we saw with the ISM numbers. So at this point, there's nothing surprising except the weakness in these numbers. Average hourly earnings up 0.3 as forecast, but only up 3.7% on a year-over-year basis. So the non-farm payrolls, okay, I'm just looking to see some revisions popped up late here, but there's nothing more beyond what I told you. 22,000 jobs created, another 21,000 taken away from the prior 2 months of June and July. I'll get you more details, and it doesn't look like the markets are happy about this.
Look, these latest numbers paint a very different picture from the fantasy the Trump administration keeps selling. Job growth collapsed to 22,000 when economists expected more than triple that isn't a hiccup, it's a warning sign. The unemployment rate rising, small businesses shedding jobs, wages slowing at the bottom, while the wealthy ride a stock market high. That's the real story. And when long-term unemployment climbs to the highest point since 2016, you can't spin it as historic success. Americans aren't imagining this pain. The data is screaming at it. Trump's economic narrative simply doesn't match the reality people are living.
I'm genuinely trying to figure out if he's blaming the word affordability on Democrats, saying they somehow made it up and it doesn't mean what it means, or if he's saying that nobody was complaining about affordability until the Democrat. It's very confusing. Also very confusing that he was saying all that at the Saudi Investment Forum. Anyway, the public isn't blaming Democrats for the cost of living and the economy right now, even if the president wants to say they are at fault. 76% of voters view the economy negatively, according to a new Fox News national survey, and nearly 2 to 1 of them say President Trump is more responsible for this economy than President Biden. On top of that, some mixed jobs numbers came out today. The economy added 119,000 jobs in September, more than double what the economists expected. So that's good news. But it lost 4,000 jobs in August.
At this point, even Fox News polls show Americans blame Trump for the economy that they're struggling through. Inflation isn't easing the way he insists. It's creeping back, hitting food, rent, and healthcare the hardest. Job growth is slowing, unemployment is rising, and tariffs are sinking American manufacturing instead of saving it. And that's why voters say it outright. This is Trump's economy, and it's failing them. This is Adam Carr with Debate Media. If you like this video, go ahead and smash that like button, and be sure to subscribe. We'll see you next time.